Okay. I would like to call to order the meeting of the West Bend Community Memorial Library for Thursday, April 23rd. As this is a conference call, I would like to, prior to setting a call to order, I'd like everyone to state their name as we go around, just to let everyone know who is here, and that way we can hear how everyone is speaking. In addition, I am going to run the meeting a little differently as we go through the agenda. What I plan on doing is, as we hit an item, I will call out your name and ask you to give your information if you have any, and then we'll go to the next person. Once everyone has had a chance to speak, then we can have an open discussion or questions if there are some. Does that sound okay?
It's okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I
think, Deb, you also need to do that item number 2 before we go on further with the meeting concerning that resolution.
Right, yes. And also, Deb, I think...
You're right, Doug. The resolution, the temporary resolution amending the bylaws to allow us to hold the meeting.
Right, yeah. And Deb, Joanne here, I think it would be more efficient if Amy were to do the roll call, because we can't see each other as if we were around the table, and we'll all be talking over each other otherwise.
That sounds good too. See, we're learning.
Yeah.
Prior to Amy doing what do you do first, people? Chris, give us your resolution.
To do
the resolution before the roll call?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we have a resolution to modify our bylaws, giving us... Amy, do you have that in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Can you read what you had written as the changes, please?
Yes. Yes. I'll read the resolution in full, okay?
Yes.
Whereas the state of Wisconsin has declared a state of emergency and placed various restrictions on the gatherings of people for the duration of the COVID-19 emergency, and whereas the West Bend Community Memorial Library Board has certain bylaws established by the West Bend Community Memorial Library Board, and whereas the West Bend Community Library Board has found it necessary to adopt the following rules and procedures to address the COVID-19 emergency. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the West Bend Community Memorial Library Board hereby suspends the quorum requirements set forth in Article 4, Section 5 of the West Bend Community Memorial Library Board bylaws. For the duration of the COVID-19 emergency, a majority of the West Bend Community Memorial Library Board shall constitute a quorum. And be it resolved that for the duration of the COVID-19 emergency, all West Bend Community Memorial Library Board meetings may be held in digital format, telephone or video conferencing, provided that such meetings shall comply with open meetings laws and applicable guidance from the Wisconsin Department of Justice, League of Wisconsin Municipalities, and the City Attorney.
Does anybody have any questions on the resolution or issues?
Doug does.
Doug, okay.
Okay. I would suggest that we drop and do not implement the first portion concerning the quorum. That is not necessary, because if you are a board member, you're supposed to be at all meetings. If you're not at a meeting, you're supposed to get an excuse. And so therefore we should have more than 2 people or 3 people so we can have a quorum. And then also it says that a majority shall constitute a quorum. That means that if there are 2 people, they can pass any regulation or information or rule or whatever they want to do. If there's 3 people, only 2 are necessary to make it. So we are taking away the ability or the functionality and the reason for having a quorum. We're supposed to be at the meetings. And in the next part of it, I would drop the all, because we can have changes to ease meeting requirements and still be in the emergency. There could be an easing of the requirements so that 5 people can meet, 10 people can meet. So it is not that all meetings be held. That's my input. But primarily, I'm very concerned about deleting the quorum requirement.
This is Joanne Klein, and I understood the resolution, the first part of the resolution, differently than Doug. I understood that a majority of the board was needed to have a quorum, and so it would be no less than the 5 people.
No, a majority. This says a majority of the West Bend Community Library Board shall constitute a quorum. So what is the majority?
But it doesn't say a majority of the board who are present. It just says a majority of the board, and the board is 9 people. Could you clarify that, Amy? What does that statement mean?
I took it to mean the majority of the board, which is 5 people.
Amy, could you read that statement just for a second, just one more time, the one regarding the quorum?
Well, doesn't everybody have it in front of them so they can read it themselves?
Well, seeing as how we're at home, I'm not sure how close people are to their computers.
Okay. Do you want me to read just the last statement?
Just no, the statement on the quorum.
Okay. Now therefore be it resolved that the West Bend Community Memorial Library Board hereby suspends the quorum requirement set forth in Article 4, Section 5 of the West Bend Community Memorial Library Board bylaws. For the duration of the COVID emergency, a majority of the West Bend Community Memorial Library Board shall constitute a quorum.
For the duration. See, it's kind of confusing how that is written, because it does say suspend the quorum requirement.
And is it a majority of the people in the meeting, or is it a majority of the total membership, which, as Joanne points out, is 5? And if that's what it means, that's a quorum, and so therefore we still don't need it.
For the duration of a majority of the West Bend shall constitute. I think now that I'm reading it the way Joanne had interpreted it, says for the duration, a majority of the board. I would think that would mean that the 5 people quorum is still there. Chris, are you on the line?
Yep.
Can you tell me, is this similar to what the County Common Council did?
Yeah, and I was trying to see if I could look up what wording we did, and I can't find it. But it's pretty much word for word what the council did as well. And the reasoning was just in case somebody got sick, right? If a member of the board is just out, you still want to be able to operate. And so that's the reason why you'd be amending it. But how I interpret it would be that 5, the 5 people out of 9 members would be 5 would be a majority. That would be the quorum that's needed. And then if you're saying a majority of that group would need to be in favor of a resolution, you'd be looking at 3 out of the 5 members that are something to pass.
Which is what it would normally be. If we had a quorum of 5, 3 people are needed to pass something.
Correct.
To satisfy what Doug is saying, Amy, could we put after it says for the duration of the emergency, a majority of the West Bend Community Memorial Board, and then in parentheses say 5 members?
Yes, I can add that.
Would that be satisfactory, Doug?
Well then, and that would be a quorum, right?
Yes, 5 members.
So then why suspend the quorum requirement?
Because the quorum requirement requires them to be in person.
Well, so you're,
Oh.
So we're not changing the number of people. We're just changing the way that we appear.
Correct.
yes, well then you still don't need it, because down below, it talks about having the meeting, having a West Bend Community Board meeting to be held in digital format, and that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to say, we'll follow the bylaws, but the bylaws at this point don't say that we can have a digital meeting. And that's all we're trying to do. So let's eliminate that first part and just keep the part that refers to a digital telephone or video conferencing meeting.
Doug, this is
Again,
Tim.
this is
I don't
Joanne. I
think you
think-
can do that.
Pardon me?
I don't think you can do that, because the only way right now you can have a quorum of the board is to have 5 of our members be physically present based upon what our current bylaws are. I think there's
Exactly.
2 things that are trying to be achieved here. One is that we can legally have the meeting defined that we are now, to be able to continue and do business. The other point is that Chris brings up, if 5 of us get sick and we can't be here, and we can't be on this call, how does the library continue to operate and do business? And I think, Chris, that's what you were getting at, if you're still on, is that there's really 2 parts to that statement, and that's how I'm reading that.
Is there a response, Chris?
I just said correct, yes. That's how I would interpret it.
So, my take then, Tim, is that we are suspending the quorum requirement because of the fact that we cannot be meeting in person to make these changes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the board could go with the opportunity, or with this, I believe, is that we could say that the new definition of a quorum would be 5 of our members virtually present instead of physically present. But that still would put us in the situation of, if 5 of us get sick and there's only 4 of you can meet here, anything that needs to be passed by the board for the library to continue to operate, pay bills, or whatever that might be, can't happen until there's 5 of us present. Virtually at that point, if we separate it out completely that way.
Okay. So, Doug, the reason that it's going this way is that if 5 of us board members became incapacitated, the remaining 4 would still be able to continue operating.
Well, this would be the same as then going back and looking at the bylaws and saying we can just eliminate the term in person that is throughout the bylaws, that meetings in person.
That's for another discussion, though. That's when we relook bylaws.
That's what this in essence is saying, correct? We're eliminating the need of in person.
During this time, yes.
Yeah, it's the fact of meeting in person, but it's also the fact that if there's only 4 people able, you can still continue with a West Bend Public Library Board meeting.
How far do you go down to how small a group can this be for a legitimate meeting? How few people do you need? If you don't need the quorum of 5 people, and then as you're saying, Tim, you could do business with 4, is there a minimum? For example, what if there's only 3? And then if that's the case, then a majority of 3 is 2, and 2 people can rule or pass a resolution that the other 7 people might be opposed to.
Do you think that well, first of all, meetings would have to be called by Amy and myself, or Amy could call it. I guess I know where you're coming from, Doug, with the quorum, but I think in lieu of the coronavirus situation, and this is very specific to that, what we are saying is if 5 members come down with coronavirus, we would allow 4 to continue to operate. You can't, because there's...
Okay, then what happens if 6 get sick?
What happens if all 9 get sick? I mean,
There's no meeting. There's no meeting.
There would be no meeting, and it would just continue to operate, and nothing would be changed.
Correct.
Doug, this is Tim. If we break the resolution apart into 2 parts, kind of like what we're talking about here, the first part of that paragraph of that resolution states that hereby suspends the quorum requirement as it is set forth in Article 4, Section 5. We're erasing that out completely. We are saying for the duration of the COVID-19 emergency, a majority of the West Bend Community Library Board shall constitute a quorum. The longer I look at that, I wonder if it really is meeting what you're saying, in that we're wiping that entire statement gone because of the in-person meeting, and that really we would still need 5 people to be present at this point in time. I think it may actually be serving what you're saying, and if we only had 4, we could have a meeting, we just can't do any business.
Okay.
Exactly, because it's a majority of the people on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you still have to
That
have
was
5
my
separate
intention.
meetings.
This
Yeah.
is Amy. That was my intention.
So if there are less than 5 people on a teleconference, there can be no meeting.
Correct. Correct.
Yep.
That's correct.
So what we could say is for the duration of emergency, 5 members of the West Bend Community Memorial Library shall constitute a quorum.
It's another way to put it. Yeah.
We're saying 5, if you have 5 people on the call, you can have a meeting. If there's only 4 on the call, you can't have a meeting.
Correct.
So the 5 is what a quorum is.
Doug, this is Tim. I'm going to ask this question. What if all of a sudden 2 of us have to come off the board, and now you need 5 of whatever to be there, or one of us comes off the board? By putting a specific number in there, if I have to come off the board and you don't have a replacement with me, you have 1 less person to have a chance at having a meeting. Where if you say majority of the board, if there's only 6 members active at that point, let's say, it's now a majority of 6. It's not a majority of 7, 8, 9, or whatever the top number is that we would have on a board, any board anywhere.
I see where you're coming from. No, I see where you're coming from, because I guess I have a problem with giving up the quorum. The intent, I think, on everybody's part is here. I'm not in total agreement, but I'll go along with the fact that the interpretation is that if there's only 4 people, we're not going to have a meeting. Rather than trying to put a specific number, because as you say, Tim, if somebody is gone from the board, then the majority of the
The majority changes.
we can split hairs, but I'll go along with your interpretation, Tim. I like that, so let's go ahead.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we pass the resolution as written.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is
I'll second it. It's Jesse.
Okay, Jesse or Tim. I heard both. We have a motion and a second that we will pass the resolution to modify the bylaws for the coronavirus as written. Do we have any further discussion? If not, we will take a vote. And Amy, I would like you to do a roll call.
Yes, I can. Deb Bartnikowski?
Yes.
Jesse Tortomasi? Yes. Karen Wackles? Yes. Joseph Legate?
Yes.
Doug Burkowski?
Yes.
Cindy Warrier?
Yes.
Joanne Klein?
Aye.
Tim Harder?
Yes.
Brett Berquist?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion carries.
Passes.
Okay. Thank you all. Now we can move on to the consent agenda, the approval of the minutes from the February 25th meeting, the library board expenditures for both February 2020 and March 2020. May I have a motion? So moved. Doug?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second, Joanne.
Joanne? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, Amy, want to do a roll call again?
Sure. Deb Bartnikowski?
Yes.
Jesse Tortomasi? Yes. Karen Wackles?
Yes.
Joseph Legate?
Yes.
Doug Burkowski?
Yes.
Cindy Warrier? Yes. Joanne Klein?
Yes.
Tim Harder?
Yes.
Brett Berquist?
Yes.
Okay,
And it passes.
motion carries. All right, moving on to item number 4. This will be a quick item because this is the, I put on there about the West Bend Community Memorial bylaws review. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review them. What I would like people to do is if you could send Amy issues or concerns or things that you think might be changed, what I would like to do is Amy and I will sit down and take the information and work on setting up some new bylaws. And by new bylaws, I mean that our new bylaws would include the potential for possibly using digital meetings, not as a regular thing, but using digital meetings. And also, in the event something would occur where we need to have board approval that we could do digital voting on certain issues. These would mainly be issues that would come up, say Amy, something would come up and she needs authority. We have a major leak and Amy wants authority to spend some repair money. We could send out an email and get a response back. This would be put in the bylaws, something like that.
Well,
So hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at them, and if you have input, please let Amy know. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, we will move on now to the next item, number 5, the budget impact of coronavirus. Amy, could you just give us a brief, update or a little synopsis? And then what I'd like to do is go around the table and ask if anybody has, individually will say a name. Oh, we were going to introduce ourselves because we got Brett out there. When we come to Brett, you can introduce yourself. I'm sorry, Brett. This isn't the normal way we do things. But so, Amy, if you could give us a little update on the coronavirus.
Sure.
impact.
Sure. I did send out a spreadsheet to everyone that basically summarizes the expenditures and revenues we've received so far for quarter 1. The far right-hand column is a difference between the budget spent and 25% of the total budget, which is where we should earmark ourselves to be at the end of March. My concern right now is our revenues and making sure that we are not negatively impacted, even though I think we will be a little bit. We did receive our levy money from the city, as you can see. We received all of that. We are losing some revenue to copy machine, book sales, miscellaneous revenue, concessions, and library fines because we have been closed. Those average weekly and monthly revenues that we normally take in are on the bottom left-hand side of the piece of paper. So if we look at the month, we would potentially, average loss would be about $4,500. I'm also concerned about the outreach budget because even though in the contract most of for Washington County, they pay for half of the outreach librarian and 40% of the outreach van. However, to make up the rest of that budget is the services we provide to patrons in other municipalities, such as Hartford, Germantown, and Kewausee. Those are billed out on a quarterly basis, and if we do not serve them, we cannot bill for them. And right now, we are not serving them. So that would be a potential loss of about $1,100 a month. So, with all that being said, I guess I'll go through the roll call and ask for any questions or concerns you can voice. And Deb, if it's okay, I'll go through a roll call.
Sure.
Okay, Deb Bartnikowski.
Well, I do have some concerns about outreach, especially that we will not be getting money from the people. One of the things, and this is not easy, this doesn't come easy, but if we are going to be losing revenue, we really may have to look at a plan on furloughing or laying off people.
It's possible, but I will say that right now there are some people that are choosing not to work because of Corona, and that is why we're seeing savings in the salaries and fringes lines.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know.
Okay. While we're talking, that's fine. There are just, I do see from the grand total, we are about 50,000 less than what the projection would have been. And I'm assuming that 50,000 is due to some of the expenditures not occurring.
Correct.
Okay. That's what I have. You can go on to the next person, please.
Okay, Jesse?
Okay, so when was the official closing date of the library?
We closed at 9 o'clock p.m. on March 18th. Or no, I'm sorry, March 17th.
Okay, so in the average monthly revenue that you've got underneath the revenue loss, have we, so it's been a month, have we already lost that $4,500?
Yes.
Okay, so that's every month that we're going to be closed. That's how much it's going to cost us. Okay.
On average, yes.
Will we be with the now curbside pickup? Will we get anything from that?
We might see some fine revenue, but other than that, I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
I'm
our copy machines.
Jesse, let me just interrupt and let everybody know. This is not a whole month reflection of a shutdown. You got to remember, if we shut down on May 17th, this is only half a month because this budget goes till the end of March. We don't have anything from April included in there.
That's correct.
Got it. That's all I have.
Okay. Karen? Karen, are you there?
ahead, unmute you. I'm trying to follow the rules. No, I have no questions at this time.
Thank you. Joseph?
Hi. Yeah. So I see that there were 0 payments of income for the outreach at all yet, or to date.
Correct. We bill for that at the end of the first quarter, and those checks will probably be coming in this month.
Okay. So I mean, we should see at least probably like $5,000 to $8,000 of that.
We'll see we'll see about $11,000.
Okay, because yeah, we're only 15 days short in this first 25% of the budget.
Right.
Joseph, a big portion comes from the county, and so at least a quarter of the budget, the 20, let's see, we've got 27,000.
Deb, are you going to let people go around, or are you going to make a comment after each person?
Well, I'll let people go around, Doug. That's fine. Just go on, Joseph. I'm sorry.
Well, okay, so I mean, we should see that income still coming in for quarter one.
It just hasn't gotten here yet.
The $50,000 of expenditures that we've saved so far this quarter, I assume a lot of that isn't from us being closed for those 15 days?
Some of it is and some of it is not. Some things, as far as salaries and fringes, I would say some of it is because people decided not to work, and then therefore they're not being paid. We also have seen a little bit of savings in supplies, and we've seen savings in gas and oil as far as outreach is concerned because the van is not moving.
Right.
And little things like that, yes.
Okay, 'cause I just, looking at this, I'm not too concerned about the budget because we've already saved $51,000 of expenses. So, I mean,
Right, and
unless we lose a lot in the next month or two.
You'll also want to notice that the health insurance line shows a savings, and that is because our health insurance premiums don't get taken out until the end of the year.
Okay, so they're an annual?
Okay? Yes.
Okay. All right, that's all I had.
Doug?
Yes. Okay. From what I've heard so far, this 51,000 is not a true savings.
Correct.
When we get to health insurance, we should be accruing some of that so that we don't see a savings. That is not a savings because we have no idea. And if you want to estimate what 15 days of health insurance is, you could put that in there as a potential savings.
Sounds good.
And that could get to be an accounting nightmare for yourself in the reporting. As far as lost revenue, we have lost some money, but we also have savings. And to follow Joe's commentary, I too do not, when you look at this, have a big problem with the budget at this point. But we have been paying salaries. What has the staff been doing to get those salaries since there hasn't been any books let out? And what have they been doing for that period since the 17th to warrant, getting paid?
Well, the librarians are still doing collection development. They are still working on continuing education. The people that are not working right now are from the circulation staff and the part-time staff. And they're choosing to do that. We have had different projects that the librarians have been wanting to do for many, many moons, and they were able to get to them during this time. We have also been working with the returns that have been coming back to the library and checking everything in a timely fashion. And then getting those things ready to go for the van. So those are the types of things that we have been doing.
And would those things have been done if we were operational?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so I tend to go along with a comment that Deb made. Right now, we've been basically shut down officially for 2 weeks at the library. We're going to have a partial opening.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's going to require all the people. And do you have a layoff plan? Because this can go for another month, another 2 months, we don't know. But have you come up with a layoff plan? You have a plan for reopening, but I don't see anything as far. I'm suggesting you have a layoff plan for people. And then I would just like to read a quote for everybody. If you've seen the Owen Robbins editorial in the paper, it's called Suffering for Thee, but Not for Me. And a kind of a summary is that while Wisconsin suffers, virtually every other state employee continues to receive their full salaries, comprehensive benefits, and guaranteed requirements, all courtesy of the taxpayers that, and this is my addition, that are laid off. One of the many impacts of this shutdown is that the government revenue has collapsed. And this is kind of aimed for you, Chris, to kind of take and tack too, because there are only 3 things one can do to balance the budget: cut spending, raise taxes, or borrow money. So I think we need to consider that going forward. That's all I have on this.
Cindy?
I have no comment.
Thank you. Joanne?
I have a question on the health insurance for the for the people that have chosen not to work, assuming it's a limited amount of time, like 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 2 months, or something like that. Does that mean that they also forego a health insurance during that period?
All the full-time librarians are the ones that get health insurance, and they have continued to work.
Okay, so that's not an issue then. Okay, great.
No.
No other questions and no comments or concerns. I think we're fine.
Thank you. Tim?
Amy, the only question is, it's a little bit off of Joanne's, and she asked the first part of it is if you have staff that aren't choosing to work, is it unpaid? Are they able to use paid time off if they have it in a bank, or is it just they're purely unpaid for the duration of the time they don't report to work?
If they have paid time off, if they get that benefit, they have to use it before they go unpaid.
Okay, thank you.
So, yep.
That's my only question, thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Brett, do you have any comments or concerns?
Oh, sure. That's why I'm here, is to have some comments. No, I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Brett Berquist. I'm the newly elected alderman for the 3rd District in West Bend. And at our organizational meeting on Tuesday, Mayor Jenkins has asked me to join the library board. And I'm privileged and honored to take that position. can see my table right now. I'm inundated with all kinds of reports and paperwork that has been sent to me in the last couple of days to prepare for this meeting. So I'm just kind of digesting everything, taking everything in, listening to your comments, and hopefully sometime soon I'll become a valued part of this board. So right now I'm just going to take everything in and be the quiet little church mouse in the corner if you get that. Does anybody have any questions of me?
No, we just want to welcome you to the board. We'll give you about a week to get acclimated, and that'll be it.
Okay, I look forward to that.
Okay.
Hey, Deb, do you mind if I ask a question?
Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. This is Mayor Jenkins. Happy to be here. So I just had quick questions. One, Amy, did you ever get the audit results back from the city yet?
No.
Okay. And my thought, similar to, I think it was Deb, was on outreach. So, and maybe you could educate me on what the outreach person is doing currently, since they're not doing outreach. But at what point, and this might be library-wide, at what point do like little pet projects kind of go away? And then, as Doug said, we need to look at, stripping down our staff. But I specifically, I'm just curious about outreach. What is outreach currently doing when there is no outreach to be done?
They have had their own projects to do with their collections. They're still doing collection development for outreach. And they have also been helping out around the library as far as getting ready for curbside service. They are offering a curbside service for their constituents if they would like to take advantage of it.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Thank you, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. We've gone around the table. Are there any other questions regarding the budget impact?
This is Joe. I did have one more thing pop up.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you said a lot of people who aren't working have chosen not to work. Has anybody been told they can't work?
No.
Okay, that's it.
This is Doug. In the discussion, you mentioned that outreach is going to do a curbside.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a plan for that also?
Yes. I don't have it in writing, but Nancy has worked on a document that I can share with you if you'd like.
Okay. And then you have made a term a couple times, and I think maybe could you explain, you said outreach is doing what? That outreach person is doing what as are other people?
Collection development?
Yes. Describe briefly for everybody again what collection development entails.
Sure. Collection development entails everything from purchasing to weeding to maintaining collections and making sure that they are available when the public gets access to them. They have also been, go ahead, Doug.
And collection could also say book or material, right?
Correct.
Okay. I just want people to, put that in perspective, that people are looking at books to buy and reading books to buy.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Right.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else, we will move on to the next item, which is number 6, the impact of the library's closure on the community. And this one, I don't know if we need to go around, if anyone has any issues. Amy, you kind of covered some of the impact with the revenue. Can you give us a brief synopsis of what you view? Now, you did send it out in the packet, but from your point, what do you think is the most important, or what do you view as the hardest thing that the community is enduring?
I think one of the biggest things that the community is enduring is not having access to our technology. The wireless is available outside the building, but printing is not. And a lot of people use our technology not only for internet access, but also as a printing place. We have seen, as many of us know in the news reports, we've heard of massive unemployment rates right now, and job seekers may not be able to access those resources very easily. And so not having access to those computers in the building has been one of the big things that I think people are missing.
So and this is Doug. So that means that the use of books and materials is secondary in priority as far as needs that we provide to the community. You see it as being technology.
Right now, that's been one of the big, I would say technology and collections are together, Doug. I see them as working together.
Amy, you said technology. And
I think technology outweighs this. Yes.
Okay. That's just my question.
Hello, this is Sarah. I agree with Amy. I have a friend who got laid off. She doesn't have a computer. She doesn't have a smartphone, and she uses a library all the time. And she has a hard time still getting through to the unemployment people. So the lack of technology for our residents at this time is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll just throw in my 2 cents. I understand technology is important, but I still view circulation as the number one thing, and the reason being is that's the reason we're funded. So, I guess, to me, the biggest impact is circulation. So, Okay. If nothing else, I will move on to number 7, which is the plan to reopen the library. And Amy, if you would go around to everyone, but I am going to defer to be the one at the end.
At the end? Okay. Would you like me to give a brief explanation of my plans?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I will say when I created the plan to open the library, that it's labeled the draft plan for reopening the West Bend Library, that was to actually open the building itself. I did not consider curbside service at the time that I created that plan, but now that it is available for us to do, I created a separate document for curbside delivery. So that's the first document that you saw before the draft of the reopening of the library. So I just wanted to explain that part, and I will ask any questions and go through the roll call. Jesse.
I thought that the explanation is pretty good, so I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay. Karen?
Sorry, I had to unmute again. Where will they pick up the items? Will it be in the lobby? The librarians will take it out to them in the little vestibule there?
Yes. For curbside, yes.
Okay. That's all
We
I
will
have.
serve them at the vestibule.
Amy, are you saying they're going to come into the vestibule, or they will be outside the vestibule?
They will be in the vestibule with only one librarian.
Okay. Okay.
Amy, this is Doug.
Yes.
Maybe for everybody, if you could walk through the process that you foresee happening. In other words, I come up to the library front door, and now I found out that I now walk in. So what happens from there, and by people people within the library that are doing these things.
Sure.
And until I get my book or material and leave.
Okay. When the person gets to the library, whether it be walking, biking, or driving their car, they would come to the front door, open the front door, and come into the vestibule where they will be greeted by a librarian. The librarian will be masked and have gloves on. This librarian will take the patron's library card and go into the library where we will have a temporary circulation desk set up where only the librarian and the circ staff will be. Okay? That person, we will get their materials and they will be checked out there. They will be bagged and then brought back out to the vestibule for the librarian to give to the patron, and then the patron leaves.
How do you check on the fact that they have, you didn't bring anything up about the appointments?
Oh, well, you said when they arrive at the library. So before they would arrive at the library,
But
okay.
Amy,
Yeah.
what I'm asking for is kind of a detailed thing. In other words, I've got an appointment, but you didn't verify the appointment, and you didn't say what happens if the person doesn't have an appointment.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I don't know. Go ahead.
Okay. So I messed up. Okay. We will
I didn't
have
say
a
you messed
schedule.
up.
Yeah. Well, I didn't explain it good enough. So the person comes to the door. They're greeted by a librarian. They verify the appointment. They take the patron's library card. Okay,
They
so far?
Yeah, they being
The librarian.
Okay.
Yes. The one librarian that's allowed in the vestibule. Then the librarian goes to the temporary search staff, the temporary circulation desk that will be in the entry area. And they get the materials and check them out. Okay?
Is that one person or more than one person?
Well, the circulation staff will check out the materials that is there. That is behind the second set of doors that from the vestibule. So there's two sets of doors that you have to come into the library. The patron stays in the vestibule.
Right.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the librarian goes out of the vestibule into the library and gets the patron's items and gets them checked out by the circulation staff member that's there. They bag them up, check them out, bag them up, and then give them to the librarian, who then goes back into the vestibule and gives them to the patron.
As an aside, do you have enough bags, or do you need bags?
We have quite a few, but if you have some, yeah, you can bring them. Let me give me a call tomorrow, and I'll pick them up.
Okay, all right. Okay,
I think for the same reason that the supermarkets, I want you to bring your own bags into the store. We shouldn't have bags coming in from other sources. So if you have bags and they're safe, if they've been quarantined or something, we can use them. But I think I want to be introducing anything new.
Okay. Okay. Joseph?
I think I'm good. I guess, I do have one quick question. Will you guys have, like, hand sanitizer or something in there, or, like, Clorox wipes if people want to wipe off their library cards?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Doug, did you have anything further?
I've got a number of items that I would ask questions of, but I don't need a response tonight because I don't want to get into a lot of discussion. I just want to bring up some points, say basically as I did when we had our meeting concerning the basement redo. So what I'd like to do is I'll read these questions off and I will send them to you on an email later on, but this may spark some interest from some other people. How many people will not be working on curbside, and what will they be doing? Will you have a review of the first week, the good and the not so good? Will there be a limit to the number of books a person can take out? Will these be only West Bend inventory books or also books from Monarch? Will people be able to use the bathroom? What will you do if it rains? How will you maintain separation? How far and what will you do about how far? In other words, going outside, 3 steps, 6 steps. What about kids? How will you maintain sterility of the cards? I think you answered this. You'll have one station to take requests. What will you do if someone gets cantankerous? What if someone wants to return a book when they check in, as opposed to putting it out in the back? How will you keep track of appointments, because people are supposed to be calling in with an appointment? What is your staffing plan for the next couple weeks? If we're not open on Saturday, will anybody be working, and what will they be doing? How will you keep the books sanitized? And should we then rethink phase 2 and phase 3 of your proposal, since in essence phase 1 has been taken care of with the curbside? I think the next couple phases have to be redone, and that's it. And I will send those to you in an email by tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Doug.
Okay.
Cindy?
Just a couple quick questions. How many people will be set up for any given appointment?
There will be 2 people that have the same time appointment, and their appointments are spaced 10 minutes apart.
And that was kind of my other question of how many patrons would be in the vestibule at one time while still adhering to the social distancing.
2 at the most. If we mark it out, I believe it's going to be 2.
Okay. Great. That's all I have.
Yep. Joanne?
I just one comment, and I guess this is on phase 1, and I would imagine you would do it, and Doug alluded to it also. I would have a check-in with staff at the end of the day. I wouldn't wait for a week, but I would have a check-in at the end of the first day or something, because I'm sure there's all kinds of things that will happen that we haven't thought about beforehand, and it'd be good to have it be continuous quality improvement kind of thing. But otherwise, no, I think it looks great, and I'm looking forward to being there.
Thank you. Tim? I think everything was... Oh, I'm sorry, Tim. I'm Tim. Yeah, Tim, you said, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like phase 1. I like the idea of getting stuff in people's hands, whether it be kids, adults, whatever we're looking at to get them out there. I think the one thing, and I go back to your comment of what people are really looking for, Amy, that access to technology, and I don't have an answer to that right off the top of my head. But I would challenge you guys and your staff to look for ways to provide access for that, or if printing really is the issue, is there a way that you can become the printing service and they can pick up materials through the same process while in or in a secure mindset or in a secure way. I think a lot of that plays into phase 2 when you start to open up the library. I think, you've got, open public computer access. How do you control that? How do you sanitize in between those types of things? I think that's going to be a focus when you get into the second part of it. But I think we got to figure out when that is. So that's my only comment or ask, is to really look at that.
Okay, thank you. Brett, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
Sure. Reviewing your plan, follow the, I guess, logic behind it. The fact that I've been recently looking at some other avenues where we've been looking at opening a facility to the public and gearing up for the time when we start opening up. So your plan is definitely in line with what I've been seeing as far as CDC guidelines and things like that. Doug does bring up some good points about some of the details that he sees, and those would be good to put in there. But as far as a draft plan, which you've got it labeled a draft plan, I think you have a very good plan here. Just got to remember that every plan is only as good as what happens, and you got to be able to adjust as things happen and go that route. So that would be my only thing, is to just be aware of how things change and to be able to adjust your plan accordingly. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Deb?
Okay, a couple things from me. I would like to ask that maybe during the first week, if you could just send a brief, maybe 2-line paragraph to the board saying how things are going. You know, just to let us know how you know, if you're experiencing lots of problems, or why don't you just do it at the end of the week to let us know how the curbside plan is going.
Okay.
Okay. Otherwise, I think this looks good. Since your original draft was in 3 phases, I'm almost thinking we should call the curbside phase 1.
I'm agreeing with you. Yes.
Okay. So based on that, you would probably have to rework phase 2 and 3, because there would be some changes. So instead of us going through what's here, I'd like to recommend that you just take a look at this and redo phase 2 and 3, and then just send that out to the board for our review.
Okay.
Okay, this is Doug. I have one other question, and that is, you had the draft for opening the library, and that was in anticipation of our meeting. And then Governor Evers opened up the library. Is there a reason why you didn't run this past the board first prior to making the public release?
So you're talking about the curbside, the public release of the curbside?
Right, that's in the newspaper.
Yeah, okay.
It happened so fast, I guess, and it was going to go out in the board packet, and those 2 things were released the same day.
There was nothing that said it had to be done that day.
Doug, this is Tim.
I'll just leave that as it is.
No, Tim, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I think, to be honest with you, and this is my opinion, is that it's not our decision as a board to say we're doing that or not. I appreciate the fact that we got the email that this is what's going to happen. I mean, that's really what we put in the purview of Amy to run the library, and it's nice that she let us know. But the availability was there under the new order to do this, and I think it's the service to the community that she was trying to provide and make it happen as fast as possible. And I don't think as a board it was something we had to vote on or bless or anything. So I appreciate that it got out there, because I know there's people asking for access to these materials. So that's just my opinion.
Okay. And that is why we have this board and why we have opinions, because as the way I read the bylaws, the board approves the actions of the library director, and we could get into a significant description or discussion about micromanaging. So that I feel it should have been run by the board, so that some of these questions that we have asked would have been covered. But that's water over the dam.
This is Karen. I had an idea. Is it possible for the bag to be curbside pickup so we could contact the local grocery stores and have them donate bags that have not been used. They get free publicity, and we get bags that are clean.
Okay.
Idea.
Thank you.
Part of the problem, though, I think you're going to run into on that is that some of the grocery stores are running out of bags. It was amazing. I mean, the Pick and Save I go to was out of plastic bags because there was such a run, and they aren't letting people reuse bags. So it's a good thing to try, Amy, and see if you can.
Okay.
Maybe Myers or something would be more agreeable.
The other thing you could possibly do is, like Joanne said, you could isolate bags that people bring in for a week.
Okay.
So you have a backup at least, because we may end up having to buy bags. We don't know what that first week is going to be like.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if you have an opportunity, I would like to suggest that if you have a chance, you ought to take a look at Menominee Falls Costco to get an idea of exceptionally well thought out social distancing in a larger environment. They have done an excellent job of control, and if you have, Chris, you might have somebody go down there for opening within the city. They have done an outstanding job.
Thank you for that information, Doug. Jesse, do we have any tasks?
Okay, so I'm not sure if, the only for sure thing that I have is that Doug will send Amy the list of questions that he read off to us, and then she can answer each one individually for him. The other thing that I have on here is for Amy to double check on those audit results. I'm not sure if did we really want her to come up with a layoff plan? And then I also had about thinking of a way for us to offer printing services to patrons. I'm not sure if we for sure wanted that too, or was that just a suggestion, Tim?
I think it was a suggestion, but I think we should look into it.
Yeah, it's a consideration of the larger plan to open up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But wasn't one of the tasks that David brought up to redo the proposed phase 2 and 3?
Yeah. Doug.
Right, and this is Joanne. There was also the item on reviewing the bylaws and sending suggestions that we'd like to Amy.
That is correct. I think that covers most of it. If one of us didn't catch it, somebody else did it. Good.
I have a question for Amy. It's Doug again. I just thought of something. When people get their books, are they going to be books from, and maybe I asked this, our inventory, or a combination of our inventory and that from Monarch?
Well, we had holds on the shelf from before we had closed. Those might be a mixture of our items and Monarch's items. Right now, the holds that are being pulled are only for the home library. And that was put out by Monarch that we are to do that.
Well, I saw that thing that you sent out from Monarch, and I interpreted that to be that they would be providing books in the very near future.
Yes, but their goal is to rehome those books and return those books to their home library.
Yes. Okay. Well, everybody, this is just my observation. I think we did a very good job. We should pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah, it was the new technology. Before we adjourn, does anyone have anything else that they wanted to, pertaining to the agenda that they had forgot maybe or wanted to say? Otherwise, we will adjourn this meeting. Our next meeting will be the normal third Tuesday of May. Chances are it might be another conference call. But we'll have to wait and see.
Deb, real quick, I have a comment that doesn't pertain to the agenda, if I can just say something quick.
Sure.
I just wanted to thank everybody for their support. I've been a library board member for forever, and it's sad to no longer officially be a part of the board, but know that in the mayor's office, you have my support, and as much as we can work together and continue to hold up the library as the gem that it is, I'll be all for it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for your service.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you too, Chris. We're gonna miss
Chris, it's Doug. I got you by at least one day for being on it forever.
I know.
Okay, thank you all. We are now adjourned.